Straight from birth, him coming up, he was attracted to the thing that wasn't good for him of the people that served false gods. Inside of him, under a spiritual warfare, this is what he was attracted to. And his parents tell him, listen, you have all these women in that's of our faith. Why do you want another woman somewhere else? Listen what he says. She said, brother, among my people, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistine. We know why they call them uncircumcised. I just want to teach a little bit. Remember that Abraham taught his covenant was with God, that on the 8th day all the kids must be circumcised that was males. And that was the contract that Abraham made with God. And anybody that was was not circumcised was like considered to be unsaved or not righteous and walking with God under that point. And if you were circumcised, it meant that you had a right standing with God, because that was the contract or the covenant that God gave with Abraham, that all the men must be circumcised. But the people didn't believe in God, so therefore they weren't circumcised. So she said, why do you want to pick a woman of the uncircumcised Philistines? And Samson said unto his father, get her for me, for she pleaseth me well. Okay, when it say pleaseth me well in the Bible, it doesn't mean that he had any sexual action with her. He said that that's what I like.
Right.
He pleased me, meaning that that's what it looked. I want her. I don't want none of the women. Maybe the Israelite women was all covered up. They had veils on, stuff like that. Maybe these women maybe a little more outward. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? You just kind of you get a picture in your mind, and maybe that woman maybe seemed to be a little more loose. I don't know. But it was something about these women that he liked. And he said, I want you to get her for me, because she pleases me well. This is what I like. And then listen to this. But his father and his, verse 4, I'm sorry. But his father and his mother knew not that it was of the Lord that he sought an occasion against the Philistines. Look how powerful it is. His father and his mother didn't know that the desire he had was really from God, because God wanted to deliver the people from the Philistines. So God knows that if I put a desire in him for one of their women and he get her, they're going to disapprove of that, and there goes the war that I want.
Right.
But nobody's seen it that way. See, and I said all that to get to this point here, meaning that sometimes you're led a certain way in life against what people think and what people feel, but it's still all God's plan.
Yeah.
Because meaning now God has a chance to be able to use Samson to deliver the people, because now he's going to put Samson in position. Because if you would have told Samson, I'm looking like this, if God would have just told, they would have told Samson, you're going to deliver these people from the hands of the Philistines, he probably wouldn't have just moved. See, God allowed him to be put in that situation where he's going to be not only forced, but he's going to feel compelled. But it's all in God's lineup if you see where it's going. You see, God set it all up that way. Meaning that God gave him the desire for the women of the people he wanted to deliver them for, so he could set up an occasion. You know, I mean, we ever wonder why God has us in certain places, but it's so God can set up an occasion. Then look at verse 5. Then went Samson down, and his father and his mother, to Timnath, and came to the vineyards of Timnath, and behold, a young lion roared up against him. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rent a kid, and he had nothing in his hand, but he told not his father or his mother what he had done. So Samson's first experience with his power, one of his first experience with the power he had given, was with the young lion, and it said that he didn't even tell his father and his mother, so I'm guessing maybe his father and his mother didn't even tell him the gift that he had. But what happened is, though, on his walk of life, he was just able to experience it. But let me say this, though. People said that Samson was big and strong when you're looking at the books, but look what it says here. It said, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him. Samson wasn't strong at all. He was only strong when the Spirit of God came upon him. He wasn't, in the books, they depict him to be naturally strong. He wasn't able to strong to pick up a car and throw men over. He was only strong when the Spirit of the Lord came upon him. But notice though, the power was never for him just to use for his own selfish gain. The only time the power came is when God felt like the need to give him the power. You understand what I'm saying? God saying that he was in a place where he needed the power, so the Spirit of God moved on him, and that's when he received power. Meaning that when you're going through something, something comes about, God's Spirit will come upon you and give you strength and give you power. He will give you strength and give you power, but it's not the strength and power that you just misuse at any given time. You know, sometimes we try to take, God tells us to cast down demons, right? And to rebuke certain things. And we start using it for the wrong reason. Keisha, I rebuke you. And you know, we start trying to use God's power on people. But it doesn't work like that. It's only when the Spirit of the Lord moves you and comes in that you can use God's power the right way. Because if you had it, you would be misusing God's power. So after Samson had destroyed the lion, he went down to get the woman, and to kind of paraphrase the story, that he went down and once he destroyed the lion, let me see where I can read it here. It says, verse 7 says, and he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well, and after a time he returned to take her, and turned aside to see the carcass of the lion, and behold, there was a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass of the lion, and he took thereof in his hands, and went on eating, and came to his father and mother, and had given them, and they did eat, but he told them not that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion. So what happened was, so his father went down unto the woman, and Samson made their feast, for so he used to do the young men to do. And it came to pass, when they saw him, that they brought 30 companions to be with him. And Samson said to them, I will now put forth a riddle unto you, if you can certainly declare it me within the 7 days of the feast, and find it out, then I will give you 30 sheets and 30 chains of garment. This is a point where I'm going to stop right there. So what Samson does is this. When Samson kills a lion, he comes up with this riddle. He comes up with this riddle for the people. And the riddle that he comes up with the people, he says it to them about the lion that he had slain. He creates this riddle, and I'm going to see in here if I can find the riddle. He says in the riddle in verse 14, and he told them if they could guess this riddle, that he would give them 30 change of garments. And he said unto them, out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. And they could not in 3 days expound the riddle. I mean, they could not figure the riddle out. And when he gave the riddle, it was so important to them. So what they did is that they went to Samson's wife, who was of the people, and they said, listen, what we need you to do, we need you to entice your husband to find out what this riddle is. So it said that it came to pass on the 7th day, in verse 15, just let you read it. They said unto Samson's wife, entice thy husband that he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn thee and thy father's house with fire. Have you called us to take that we have? It is not so. So the men said that, listen, Samson's giving us a hard thing to come up with 30 garments. We really can't come up with that. You want to see us poor and broke? So we need you to entice him to find out what is the answer of the riddle. So it goes on to say that the woman pressed Samson. And she pressed Samson, and he told her the riddle. And when the people came, they told Samson the riddle, and Samson told them. And verse 18, look what he says. And the men of the city said unto him, on the 7th day before the sun went down, what is sweeter than honey, and what is stronger than a lion? And he said unto them, if ye had not plowed with my heifer, ye had not known out my riddle. So it says, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he went down to Ashkelon and slew 30 men of them, and took their spoil and gave change of garments unto which expounded the riddle. And his anger was kindled, and he went up to his father's house. So by him being deceived by these people, allowed the Spirit of God to move upon him again, and he went and got the spoil for them, the change of garments that was part of the answer of the riddle. But God knew that how the people were going to treat him, even though he was dead. That's why God allowed him to go that way. But every time Samson is getting mad and using his power, it's creating more of a problem. And the Philistines are finding out about him, and it's actually setting him up to have the occasion against the Philistine that God wants him to have. Okay? But what I really want to explain to you, I want to show you that part right there, because it's a bigger part of the story to get to the part of the story that we know about Samson and Delilah. See, right here, when we read is that the woman was able to press Samson to get him to tell her what it was. So even though Samson was strong physically, he had a moral weakness for women. Because as we get ready to read, when God's Spirit came upon him, he was strong. But then he would be weak if you pressed him enough. You know what I'm saying? He was weak if you pressed him enough. But the thing is, though, he had a weakness here for women. And look at this one here. In verse 6, let's go to chapter 16. I want to sum this up here. It says, Then went Samson down to Gaza and saw there an harlot, and went in unto her. And it was told the Gazites, saying, Samson is come here. And they compassed him and laid wait for him all night in the gate of the city, and were quiet all the night, saying, In the morning, when it is day, we shall kill him. Samson lay till midnight, and arose at midnight, and took the doors of the gate of the city and the two posts, and went away with them, bar and shoulders, and put them upon his shoulders, and carried them up to the top of an hill that is before Hebron. So the people found out Samson was in town. They laid wait for Samson. But when Samson woke up that morning, the Spirit of God came upon him, and the gate that they had built for Samson, not only he took the whole gate of the city with him to the top of the hill, the gate that they had created, laid wait before him, going back into the scripture that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. And God gave him a strength against the enemies that they tried to lock him in. And he took what they had and put it on his shoulders and took it with him. Isn't that powerful? The thing that they had laid in wait for him, he took that thing with him to the top where he was going. Right. Man, that's powerful, man. Got a deep meaning behind it. But here's the one here in verse 4. And it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. Look at how Samson is moving. We just see three different women. We just see that he was looking at his wife at first. Now he was just with a harlot. Now he's just going right into Delilah. So even though he has this great strength, he has a moral weakness. Okay? And it says that, and the lords of the Philistines, no, it said, verse 4 said, it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. Verse 5, and the Lord of the Philistines came up unto her and said unto her, entice him. There go that word again. They're always asking the women to entice Samson. Okay? And I wonder how did they know to entice him? Because they probably knew that they were able to entice him before. Through the same moral weakness. Meaning that it's a spiritual thing. The devil is not using, or you look at it, they're not using nothing different than you. They're coming at him the same way over and over and over again. You see that? It's nothing different. He's just using the same things over and over again. That's what they teach a lot of times, that the devil's not doing anything new. He's taking us down with the same things over and over again. And once you deal with that thing that's in you, you'll be able to conquer. So she said, entice him, and see where his great strength lieth, and by means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him, and we will give thee, every one of us, 1,100 pieces of silver. So they came to Delilah and said, we will give you 1,100 pieces of silver if you find out where his great strength lies, that we may overcome him. This is the same way in Samson, it's the type of crisis how they came to Judas when he deceived Jesus. It was for money to deceive him. For our Samson, and they used the woman to do it, but in the New Testament, they used Judas. Okay? In verse 6, it says, Delilah said to Samson,